Hi, my name is Melissa Payne. I'm a 25-year veteran biology teacher who's been working in IB and AP schools, teaching for the exams. I've also done work with the A levels as well. What I'm doing now is I'm doing videos for YouTube to try to help students who are getting ready for their exam have a strong conceptual understanding of the material, as well as be able to make connections between the units, which is what you need for the paper 2 or the FRQ type questions. So let's keep going. Special thanks to the parents at Global STEM Coaches for helping to fund this program. Okay, we've got a pretty big agenda that we're going to go through. It's going to be a long session. We're going to break this up later, but right now, as I'm getting ready for the exams, I'm making sure I've got all this content ready for my students. So if you're not a student, I promise in the future, you're going to have shorts and smaller videos about all of this because this is a heavy cognitive load meant for high level, grade 11, grade 12 students. So we'll be talking all about gas exchange and how to calculate gas exchange, different ratios of that, looking at connections between inspiration, expiration, breathing, and GABA. And then we're going to go a deep dive on what's going on in the hemoglobin. So let's get started. So gas exchange in plants is simply the input of carbon dioxide into the leaf and the output of oxygen from the production of the light reactions. So when you see this equation is not only the production of chemical energy, but it's also carbon dioxide going in, oxygen coming out, and that's gas exchange in plants. You might remember from this is the light reactions producing the oxygen and the carbon dioxide coming in for the production of glucose. So that's gas exchange in plants. I'm trying to make learning go viral. So you notice that there's so much around the world. Everyone's trying to tell you what to think and tell you what to feel. I'm just a biology teacher trying to make learning go viral so that people have a strong understanding of their bodies, how it works, and the earth and how the ecosystems work together. So let's get into the smallest eukaryote that does gas exchange. So this is a eukaryotic cell that is in the domain protist, and you'll notice that it's diffusing oxygen in and carbon dioxide's coming out. And you'll also notice that it's super wiggly. That wiggliness is the maximizing of surface area to volume ratio. In fact, Amoeba is one of the largest eukaryotic cells. Usually eukaryotic cells top out at 100 micrometers. This one's larger, and the reason why it can be larger is because it's maximizing that volume to surface area to volume ratio, and it has more space for gas exchange. So how did gas exchange evolve? Essentially, the cells need oxygen to come in, and that is going to be what helps for the powering of energy for ATP. Please draw this. You cannot learn without drawing, so draw this if you're a student studying for exams. So we started off with a single-celled organism. That's a prokaryote, that's 1 to 10 micrometers, and it evolved about 3.8 billion years ago. There are two major domains that they exist in, eubacteria and archaeobacteria. There are also some single-celled organisms in the domain eukaryote that evolved later that include the yeast in fungus. There's a single cell called yeast, as well as a number of protists such as amoeba. So eukaryotes evolved 2.4 billion years later, and those would be the ones you're more familiar with, such as animals and plants and fungus, as well as another domain protist that includes algae. You know the stuff you put around sushi? That is a protist called algae that does photosynthesis, but it's not a plant. Here's just the evolution of that life, just to make that connection. The respiration that is happening at a cellular level in all of these organisms, but breathing is only happening when an organism has lungs. You probably, or you may have done this in class where you do an experiment and what you're looking at is the rate of diffusion with surface area to volume ratio. And you're going to put 3 different size cubes in, and you're going to measure the rate to which the amount of diffusion happened on the outside. So this is an experiment that is going to show you that smaller is actually a better method of surface area to volume ratio. The smaller a cell is, the more the stuff from outside can get in and the stuff from inside can get out. Okay, you're noticing that they all have the same level of penetration. It's all about the same amount of change on the outside surface, but when you're smaller, that diffusion goes all the way into the middle and all the way out. So I want us to calculate this to prove this. This is very commonly seen on the exams. So write this down, draw this out, seriously. And I'm going to take you through how you calculate this. So surface area is all the stuff that's on the outside of a cube. So the stuff that's actually only on the outside, nothing about the inside. So you have a 1 by 1 centimeter cube, and it's 6 times. The volume is 1 centimeter times 1 centimeter times 1 centimeter, and that's how much space that occupies. That's 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. And then we take the surface area to the volume and we turn that into a ratio. So we have the surface area is 6, the volume is 1, and the surface area to volume ratio is 6 to 1. Does that make sense? Okay. So if we could do it again for the next one, and I'm going to say to you, please calculate this yourself. And that's 24 to 8. That's a 3 to 1 ratio. And then we have a 2 to 1 ratio in the largest one. So we're seeing a change in the surface area to volume ratio going down as it gets bigger. So it is much better to be small and efficient rather than larger. So that's why cells are always small, to maximize the surface area to volume ratio for gas exchange, nutrient exchange, as well as waste exchange. Can I pause for a second? Okay, so I started this YouTube video series 20 days ago, and it's growing way faster than I ever thought it was gonna grow, so I have a favor to ask. I turned 50 on June 1st. Do you think there's any way that you could help me get 50,000 subscribers by my birthday? Because I think that would be the coolest thing, to have 50,000 subscribers when I turn 50 after dedicating my life to teaching. So if you can help me, I would appreciate that. So you could do the subscribe now. Please. Okay. So making connections. This is just kind of a joke. And I just don't want you to start smoking because of this video. It's just a joke to show you guys something about making connections.
Christ, that right there is the mail. Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the
Don't
mail?
smoke.
I've been dying to talk about the mail with you all day, okay? Pepe Sylvia, this name keeps coming up over and over again. Every day, Pepe's mail's getting sent back to me. Pepe Sylvia, Pepe Sylvia. I look at the mail. Well, this whole box is Pepe Sylvia. So I say to myself, I gotta find this guy. I gotta go up to his office. I gotta put his mail in the guy's goddamn hands. Otherwise, he's never gonna get it. He's gonna keep coming back down here. So I go up to Pepe's office, and what do I find out, man? What do I find out?
Okay, so just a little joke, but I want you to always be making connections in biology. In order for you to get a 7 in IB, a 5 in AP, or an A star in the A levels, you need to be thinking about how do all these units come together? So write this down. I want to just make sure that we take some time to make sense of all this. So here we've got, sorry, I know why that was. Because that's how the food gets in. Sorry, that's supposed to be a big carbohydrate. So we eat the food. So that's my carbohydrate. And then we breathe the oxygen. So the oxygen is going all the way in. And then the carbon dioxide is going to go out. And this is all a result of our basal metabolic rate, is also just our activity level. Then this is going to get into the human cell. The food is going to go into the cell. That's going to get broken down into pyruvate. Then that pyruvate is going to go into the mitochondria, into acetyl coenzyme A. Then it's going to go into the Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain. And that's going to use oxygen as the final electron acceptor in the ET C. Does that help? That carbon dioxide is going to leave, and it's going to leave for two reasons. So the carbon dioxide is going to leave the cell and be breathed out, and it's going to leave the cell first. The first two CO2s, I can't make the little thing. The first two CO2s are going to leave during pyruvate oxidation, and the other four CO2 are going to leave during Krebs cycle. So that's where the carbon dioxide is leaving in that cellular respiration equation. So important to think. I'm breathing in so that each one of my cells can get oxygen inside of the mitochondria. And when I'm breathing out, I'm breathing out because that glucose got broken down into carbon dioxide during pyruvate oxidation and the Krebs cycle. That's where that's happening. Breathing is what's getting that into my cells, and inspiration is getting that into myself, and expiration is getting that out of myself. So breathing. I want to show you a little video about back in the day when the internet was fun. Some old friends of mine showed me this in Owen Sound, so I'm just having a little flashback. I'm just going to show you a little clip, but you feel free to go and have a look at it. It's just a little joke to break us up because boring. I don't want to be too boring.
Are you feeling tired and weak? Do you feel lightheaded? Are you getting dizzy spells? Are you slipping in and out of consciousness? If you are experiencing one or all of these symptoms, it may be because you are not breathing. Breathing, breathing, breathing. Breathing is a safe and effective way of fighting death and death-related symptoms. Most doctors agree that breathing is an excellent way to stay alive.
Okay, now I'm going to show you in class what I did is I actually got a real lung and dissected it. So here you go. This is a little something from my Instagram.
We have a set of big lungs here. You can see the trachea that is cartilage based. That would be the trachea or the windpipe. That's all going to go all the way down into the bronchioles. And then we have two of our lungs here. You notice this is your right lung that has 3 lobes. This is your left lung that has 2 lobes. There's a little bit less room on that side. In the middle here, you can see the pericardium. That's where the heart would go inside. And I just want to demonstrate what happens when I use a bicycle pump to simulate respiration. You can start to see the lungs expanding. You can see a bit of the color changing because the remaining blood that's inside is actually becoming oxygenated.
Okay, kind of cool, eh? Okay, so let's talk about inhaling and exhaling. So we're going to inhale and exhale. Try it with me. I would like you to take your hands, put them on your diaphragm right below your rib cage, and I want you to feel what it feels like to inhale. You can feel your lungs getting larger, that diaphragm's being pulled down, and then we're going to exhale. The diaphragm's relaxing, and we're pushing that air out. So we're pulling it down, so the air actually comes into the lungs by sucking, and we're pushing back up to do that. Breathing is an interesting thing because it's both automatic and something that we also control. When it gets to the capillaries, what to the alveoli and the capillary, there's the alveoli, which is the end. That's the end of each of the bronchial tubes. And that's going to be surrounded by capillaries where we're going to have the exchange of gases. Here's what's happening on a bit of a micro scale. What we have is that carbon dioxide inside the blood actually gets converted to bicarbonate ions. So it goes in the actual blood. So the oxygen's carried in the hemoglobin, but some of the carbon dioxide will stay in the red blood cell, but a lot of it will be carried in the blood plasma. Then we're going to distribute and diffuse back and forth. Here's an image or an animation of this.
In a rhythmic pattern. Each time we inhale, oxygen is drawn from the outside environment to the lungs, then into the bloodstream. When we exhale, the process is reversed. Carbon dioxide, which enters the lungs from the bloodstream, is discharged.
Okay, you can go back. I'll put the link in there if you want to hear the whole thing. Okay, again, write this down. Let's look at all the steps of expiration. Breathing out. So we relax. There's a force that pushes up. Our external intercostals are relaxed. Our inner intercostals are contracted, pulling the rib cage in, and the volume decreases. So the air is going to move from a higher pressure inside the lungs to a lower pressure outside the lungs. Inspiration is much the same, and it's going to be the opposite. Okay, so inspiration, and again, I'm going to get you to write that down. Don't mess around with not writing down all of the details you need to write down. You need to write this stuff down because we can't remember if we just watch a video. So you need to write this down. So diaphragm, the contraction will be, again, put your hands and think about this. Put your hands on your rib cage and your abdomen's relaxed. Your diaphragm is literally going, it's like pulling down. It's contracting. It's pulling the rib cage up and out. The intercostals on the internal side are relaxed, and then your volume is increasing. The pressure decreases in the lungs, and so the air is going to move from the higher pressure outside, and it's going to suck into the body, into the lower pressure of the lungs. An interesting thing that I find that is important to connect to communication, the communication unit, is the vagus nerve. So there's a vagus nerve that goes all the way. It goes from the brain all the way to the stomach, all the way to the gonads, if you know what gonads are, all the way through there. And this vagus nerve is always regulating. Am I safe? Do I have enough oxygen? Do I have enough food? Do I have enough sugar? It's constantly making sure that your body is safe. If your body is not safe, the vagus nerve will stop you from releasing a neurotransmitter called GABA. It will inhibit the GABA. GABA is the neurotransmitter that makes you feel chill. It makes you feel relaxed. Without GABA, you feel stressed. So, an activity you can do to calm your nerves when you're nervous is to simply do 5 deep breaths. So we're going deep breath 1. Deep breath 2. Deep breath 3. Deep breath 4. Deep breath 5. And if you notice, you might kind of feel a bit woozy because that activity of deep breathing is going to result in the calming of your nerves. You're going to feel relaxed. You cannot take a deep breath when you're running away from lions or you're running away from tigers. When you are scared, you do shallow breaths. You're running. But if you stop and you do a deep breath, it will release the GABA from your brain and calm your nerves. If you're having trouble understanding the pressure system, again, I'm going to recommend you go to PhET. They're fantastic. They do all sorts of different activities. This is actually under the physics unit, but it actually really helps with the idea of changing the size of something and increasing the pressure. So you'll notice as that size changes, the atomic mass units, or ATM, it is going to go lower or higher based on whether we have compression, 30 ATM, or it's loose, 12 ATM. So go ahead and play with that. And again, I want to thank Global STEM Coaches for funding this program.